Hello everyone and welcome to another Marvel Crisis Protocol Battle Report Soros cameo. Yeah, that's a perfectly normal thing for a dog to do. Anyway, today for you we have 17 threat of Web Warriors versus the Black Order. The Web Warriors are also featuring the Punisher, so a new model on the table. But we'll go into more detail about that in a second as we look over the two teams. So here are our Web Warriors: Miles Morales Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man, Venom, Ghost Spider, and then the Punisher. So if any of these lot get dazed or KO'd, he's going to generate some punishment tokens, which he can use to make his abilities stronger. He can blow up some scenery if there's enemies nearby it, and he's just a good long range fighter. Similar to Hawkeye, I guess, without the stats effects. And tactics cards: Web Barrier, Extreme Conditioning, all webbed up, Blood Red and Personal, and Heavy Ordnance. So you never have too many miniatures in a Black Order team, especially when you're playing 17 threat. So we have Thanos, we have Black Dwarf, we have I almost blanked on his name, we have Corvus Glaive, and we have Proxima Midnight. No Infinity Gems at all. This is just Thanos, pre-Infinity Gems I guess. He's just hunting for them or whatever, and he's here in this very bizarre looking pumpkin patch to that end. Tactics cards, oh, the glare is pretty bad there. Oh, you've got Mothership, Reversal, Blood to Spare, and Brace for Impact. With that, let's take a look at the Crises we're playing. The Crisi, whichever. So our secure Crisis this time is Deadly Meteor mutates civilians. It's the Origin Bombs. You roll equal to your energy defense if you're within one to try and take control of it for your side. And you have to get more hits, wilds and crits than there are healthy enemies around you, and the player controlling the most Origin Bombs gets 3. Gotta remember that, it's only the majority holder that scores. It's not 1 or not 3 victory points per bomb, but that would make things go faster. And then you've also got Skrulls infiltrate world leadership for the extraction, so there's 3 civilians, but one of them is actually a secret Skrull agent, and if you're holding him you get 2 victory points, and if you're holding the Skrull agent you just get down to slow speed. And it uses the same deployment type for both. So we have the civilian, one of the Origin Bombs, civilian, one of the Origin Bombs, civilian, one of the Origin Bombs. Of course the civilians will get removed once the Skrull agent is found, but as we start that's how things are going. So roll off to see who goes first, get the teams deployed, and then be back at deployment. And so both teams have deployed. The Black Order are going first and they also deployed first, so they're on the right of the table, and the Web Warriors are on the left. So you can see Black Dwarf, Corvus, Thanos, and then all the way over there, Proxima by herself next to that pumpkin. And then if we come over here, the Web Warriors kind of deployed in the middle here, with Gwen over there at the back. So with that, we are ready to go right into Battle Round 1. Proxima Midnight got the game started. She is the fastest of the Black Order moving along, and so she did. To get over to the Origin Bomb, she spent her 1 power to try and test whether the civilian was a Skrull agent. You roll 2, it's like finding the power core, you roll 2 dice, if one is a crit you found the agent, but she did not. So she did not find the agent, she did not claim the Origin Bomb. She is now going to make it harder to claim that Origin Bomb if one of the Web Warriors decide to do that instead, but first turn is probably going to be a mad grab for the Skrull agent. First activation for the Web Warriors was Peter Parker Spider-Man. He also moves along, and he did, to get into the center to check the civilian there to see if they're actually a Skrull, and despite his best efforts couldn't work it out. So he is just sitting there. He wasted his 1 power and back over to the Black Order. Corvus Glaive was next up for the Black Order. He moved medium, then he moved small because he's climbing, and he still had enough to get to the Origin Bomb and the civilian, because remember they're technically supposed to be on top of each other. He spent his power to check the civilian, and again a crit was not rolled. Are you ready for a low scoring game? Because that's what this is going to be. Ghost Spider was next up. She did the exact same turn everyone else has done. Moved up to check the civilian and failed to roll a crit. Wasted a power to do it as well. This might actually be a 0 victory points gained first round. Thanos was up for the Black Order next. Medium move, small move because he climbed, and not even the mighty Thanos could intimidate a potential Skrull agent into revealing his identity. So, nope, spent his power, could not discover whether or not that was a Skrull. He is basically standing on both of them to make his base fit safely, but no. So back over to the Web Warriors. Miles Morales activated. He moves medium. He did so twice, and remember all the spider people have wall crawler. He went over there, he checked the Skrull agent, and wasted his power because he could not roll a crit on 2 dice. Last activation for the Black Order was Black Dwarf. He only moves small, and despite his big base, 2 small movements was not enough to get within 1 of the Origin Bomb / Civilian, so he doesn't get to embarrass himself on turn 1 by wasting his power, failing to find the Skrull Agent, so he gets to hold on to it. And with that, it's over to the Punisher and Venom to end the first battle round where nothing happened. So to cover the last 2 activations of battle round 1, Venom moved up short twice, which did not let him get close enough to spend his power to check anything or try and claim the Origin Bomb. Punisher moved up. The base attack on his free attack is only range 3, so he couldn't quite reach Proxima, so he just moved into a better position to potentially go or shoot over there to help out if he needs to, but he did nothing else. So that does take us to the end of battle round 1, and there's no point doing a cleanup phase recap because literally no victory points scored. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that might be the first time that's ever happened in any of these videos where there's a score of literally 0 for both sides and not even a punch was thrown. That is quite something. So we're going to go into battle round 2 now, and Black Order going first again. So Thanos got turn 2 started for the Black Order, and some blood has finally been drawn. First of all, though, he did spend a power to check the Civilian there, and naturally, of course, it was no crits. So then he did a basic strike on Spider-Man, and that basic strike did 2 damage, and of course there was a crit in the roll for that, because of course there was. No wild in that one, however, so then he followed up as his other proper action by doing just another basic strike. This one was fully blocked thanks to some rerolls, but it got the wild, so before damage is dealt, it's thrown small. Should technically be a little bit further back than that, but that would be unsteady miniature, so it has to be placed there. But yeah, Spider-Man took 2 damage, Thanos stayed where he was, and still no victory points on the table yet. Miles activated for the Web Warriors, and he did not have a good turn. He spent a power to check the Civilian, of course it wasn't. Then he just did 2 webline kicks, or whatever his basic free attack is called, on Thanos, and thanks to Thanos' reduced his damage by 1 to a minimum of nothing, so he can go down to 0 damage, Thanos took literally 0 from both. Not a good showing. Black Dwarf activated and moved small for his first activation. He didn't actually end up using his other activation. If he had a bunch of power, he could have done a brutal end on Spider-Man because he's within 3 as the crow flies. But he didn't. He spent 2 power instead, 1 power to check the Kree and 1 power to take control of the Origin Bomb. He could not work out if the Kree agent was that Civilian, but he did easily convert that Origin Bomb. So that is potentially, finally, some victory points on the table by the end of the round, depending on how the rest of it goes. Venom activated, and first of all he moved close enough that he could interact with the Origin Bomb and the Civilian. He spent 2 power to do both. Keep in mind, Venom's only got 2 energy defense, and you roll energy defense to try and claim the bomb. So because Proxima is still there, he needed 2 and he got 1. So he couldn't find the Skrull Agent and he couldn't claim the Origin Bomb. He did, however, do a basic attack after his move on Proxima. It did 2 damage, reduced to 1 because of her invulnerability. So we're staying over here because Proxima activated, spent 2 power to attempt both objectives, and of course failed both of them. She then did 2 spear throws on Venom because, as previously discussed, Venom's energy defense is terrible. The first one did a massive 3 damage. The second one was actually successfully blocked. He rolled 2 crits for his defense, but she got a wild, so it still does the poison effect on him. Gwen was up next, and she stayed still and did 2 spider techniques on Proxima. First one is just a 4 physical, but if she attacks the same target twice, 3 dice get added to the second. So the first one did 2 down to 1, and then the next one did 5 down to 4. It didn't need to, only needed to do 3 because of the damage she already had. Well, counting the 1 damage from the previous attack. So Proxima is dazed. She then spent 2 power to try and get both the Origin Bomb and the Civilian. It could not work out if the Civilian was the Skrull Agent, but did convert the Origin Bomb. I know the icon is a bit in a weird place. This is a bit of a problem getting any new icons in there. So that's 1 Origin Bomb each, and Proxima is dazed. So Corvus Glaive was the last one to activate for the Black Order. He stayed where he was and he did 2 of his basic strikes on Miles. The first one did 2, the second one did 1 for a total of 3 damage. He then spent 2 power to attempt both objectives. Of course he couldn't find the Skrull Agent, but he did successfully on his 3 energy convert the Origin Bomb. So that is 2 playing 1 with Punisher and Spider-Man to finish off the turn. Peter Parker Spider-Man activated. He moved up so that he would be within checking distance. He did a basic strike on Corvus because Corvus is easier to kill than Thanos. Actually did really well, he did 3 damage. He then used that power generated from the 3 damage to throw Corvus over here to try and make the Origin Bomb easier to switch over. He also spent a power to find the Skrull agent. Of course he didn't. And he also did not roll well enough. Thanos being there was enough to make sure that the Origin Bomb did not convert back. So it's just over to the Punisher to end the turn. And I don't think he's going to be able to stop the Origin Bomb majority. So this is a bit of a odd angle, but it's easier to see how the Punisher did his turn from this. He moved medium to roughly there, then he climbed, so he moved small, up there, and then he was within 1. So he had 2 power, because he's done nothing for the past 2 turns. Spent them to check both objectives, could not find the Skrull, and on 3 energy defense could not roll 2 successes in the form of a crit hit or a wild. Thanos being there again was enough to make sure the Origin Bomb stays there. And that does take us to the end of Battle Round 2, but there is at least some points on the board. The Skrull agent is undiscovered, but there is 2 Origin Bombs versus 1 claimed by the Black Order, so that is 3 victory points to the Black Order, and they are again getting first activation as we go into Battle Round 3. Battle Round 3 got started with the Mad Titan himself, and he had an effective turn, sort of. For his actual actions, he did a basic strike on Spider-Man and a basic strike on Spider-Man. That's not as confusing in context. He did 3 damage to each of them. He only needed to do 2 to Miles. That is a double stun. So Peter and Miles are both dazed. Sorry, I shouldn't have said stun because stun is a status effect. They're both dazed and will not be getting a turn. He spent 2 power, 1 for the check, 1 for the no, sorry, he didn't. The Origin Bomb's already his. He spent 1 on checking for the Skrull agent, and he did not find it. So despite not finding the agent, he was still able to do a lot of damage there, and reducing the number of activations in this turn for the Web Warriors. Venom was next up, and first of all, he started with a We Are Venom, We Are Venom, the one that heals himself when he does damage. He did 2 damage to Proxima with that, so he healed 2, well, he did 3 down to 2. You know how it is with the Black Order. And then he did a basic strike, and that did 2 down to 1. So Proxima's taken 3 damage in total on her wounded side. She has 5 HP on her wounded side, so she's still alive barely. And also he then tried to find the civilian for 1 power and failed. Now he did start the round poisoned, so he didn't generate power because it's 1 less power if you're poisoned, but he still had enough thanks to the damage he took before that to do everything there, and that's his turn. So Proxima was next activated, and this is why she was sitting on all of her power instead of doing martial prowess. She did 2 quantum starbursts, that's what it's called, right? Opal fruits on Venom, which is a 6 energy attack. The first one did 2 and inflicted, well, it would have done poison if he wasn't already poisoned, but it also added on bleed and stun. And then also on the second one did 4 more damage. That left him on 1 hit from dazing. He then did a counter with so many snacks. We Are Venom. It did 1 damage, well, 2 down to 1. So he healed 1 of that damage away. So essentially he's taking 4 damage, he is 2 away from death, but he's obviously going to need to do something about the stun and poison, etc. when it rolls around to his next turn. So Gwen, the Ghost Spider, was next activate. She spent a power to try and find the Skrull agent, and this Skrull agent is just James Bond. He's impossible to find, he's too good. Can't be found. 3 rounds deep. So anyway, then she did a basic web line and was able to do really well. Rolled it's only 4 dice on the first roll, it was 4 hits. Proxima did very badly with her defense roll, took 3 damage. Proxima is gone. So she is dead. So with her other actual action, she moved, and then she spent 3 for a web line, or web pull, to pull Thanos towards her small, so that's why he's no longer there. It might mean that Punisher can more easily turn that Origin Bomb to the Web Warriors. It does obviously bring a threat closer to them, but hey, there's 1 Black Order down. So in order to get back up onto the platform, Corvus had to go around in kind of like a medium and then a small to hop up onto here. So he didn't have any other actions left to attack, but he spent 1 power to try and find the Skrull agent, and of course he didn't. So with both Spider-Persons dazed here, it's just over to Punisher to end Battle Round 3, and obviously he's going to try and convert the bomb, find the person. He might be able to do some damage to Corvus. I guess we'll finally get to see what the Punisher can do. And so did the Punisher perform? He did, although I guess it's not really down to him being the Punisher that equaled this. But he found the Skrull agent. But let's cover everything in order. He did 2 of his basic attacks, his hip fire attacks. They're just 4 physical, but for every 1 you do, if you're attacking the same person, you get a free 1. So essentially he gets 4. He only needed 3. 2 down to, oh sorry, that one just did 1. He doesn't have the 1 down to 0 roll. 3 down to 2, 3 damage. That means that Corvus is dazed from the 2 basic attacks he did. He then spent 2 power, 1 to try and find the Skrull agent, which as you can see, he succeeded. So Punisher is now securing the scroll, and then the other to convert the Urgent Bomb, and with Corvus stunned, he just needed to get one success, and he did. So that actually means we can have a proper cleanup phase, because stuff happened. So things really did take a turn there, and I totally forgot to mention when both Spider-Men were dazed, the Punisher got 2 of his punishment tokens out of the potential 3 he can hold on to, so he can buff up an attack he does later. Probably not worth spending on his basic attack, he's got a good sniper shot he can do. But anyway, he found the Skrull Agent, and not only that, but the middle Origin Bomb and the left one are controlled by the Web Warriors, so they have majority there, which means they score all the victory points possible in this turn, outside of Thanos' special rules of course, by getting 5 victory points. 3 for the Origin Bomb majority, and 2 for the Skrull. So it's 5 playing 3 as we go into Battle Round 4 in this very low scoring game, with the Black Order still going first. So Corvus, knowing that he may be on borrowed time, activated first. He did a death blow on Miles, which did get a wild, which means he gets a free strike afterwards, and both whiffed entirely. Or rather, no, sorry, he didn't whiff. Defense rolls did have to matter, but neither did any damage, and one of them was free, so then he just did a basic strike with his other action. That did get through and did 2 damage to Miles, not enough to deal with any of the threats nearby. So then Mothership was played. He and the Black Dwarf both spent 2. He moved one of the 2 characters that spent within one of the other, not if they're holding an objective token, but he's not. So Black Dwarf has teleported from down there, up there, to either pick on Spider-Man's, or to go after the Punisher and try and get the Skrull Agent. So the Punisher activated, and because he's holding the Skrull Agent, his speed becomes small, but that doesn't stop him. He spent the 2 power he had sitting on himself for Spec Ops training, which is a free small move, so essentially he did 3 small moves for his turn, his entire turn. So he went from right there, all the way to the Origin Bomb there. He has no power left to try and convert the Origin Bomb this turn. He's just trying to get away from threats with this scroll, while also still trying to contribute. So he ran away, and now it's over to either Thanos or Black Dwarf. Thanos activated, moved medium to get close enough to the objective. Then he did a full power 8 energy dice, Cosmic Blast. You'll notice Venom is still standing because he only took 1 damage, which means he's on 1 health left. Now he does have to get rid of the stun and the bleed, so it means he's not going to be doing much unless he doesn't mind getting dazed at the end of the turn, which he might not. Yes, but other than that, he then spent 1 power to convert the Origin Bomb, and he successfully did it on his 3 energy defense. So with that, it's over to one of the Spider people. Peter Parker Spider-Man activated and spent 3 power on focus, all webbed up. So what that means is any enemy characters within 3 of him suffer the slow condition, and then when any web warriors attack those characters this round, they get 2 extra attack dice. So the latter part doesn't particularly matter unless Miles attacks them. But that does mean that Corvus and Black Dwarf both got slowed. Then Peter long moved twice and then spent a power to convert the Origin Bomb next to the Punisher there and succeeded. So with that, it is over to Black Dwarf to end the turn for the Black Order. So Black Dwarf, having teleported via Mothership with his only 2 power, did not have any power left to even try and convert the Origin Bomb there. So instead what he did was 2 basic strikes on Miles, one of which did 1 damage and then the other was successfully blocked. So that's it. And now it's over to either, well, Venom's going to just cure status effects probably. So it's basically over to Gwen to end Battle Round 4. So Venom has had his turn, and it's the first amazing rolls of an otherwise pretty slow match. He only went and dazed Thanos. He did a basic strike for 4, and then he did a We Are Venom, 5 down to 4, and then that did 5 or 6 down to 5, but it only needed to do 4. So yeah, Thanos is dazed, and now there is something to point out. Because he was stunned, in any instance where he would generate power, he only generates 1 instead. That was remembered for the strike afterwards. Couldn't remember how much power he had prior to that, so whether he had enough for We Are Venom or not. Took away 1 extra power just in case that was done incorrectly, because it's not like he has to switch the Origin Bomb anyway, but that was remembered after the fact, unfortunately. So there might have been a little bit of an error there. It's probably not going to affect anything in the long run, but we'll see. And totally forgot Miles hasn't had a turn either, because there's so few Black Order. So Gwen is... I guess Gwen could come up here and help, and then we'll see what Miles is doing as well to end off the round. So And Miles stayed where he was to hold down the central point as best he could, and given that the two enemies in front of him are webbed up, so he gets 2 extra attacks, he spent 6 power in total on 2 Venom Blasts on Corvus, and they didn't do that well, especially considering the extra dice thrown in. The first one did 2 down to 1, the second one did 3 down to 2. 3 damage on Corvus in total. I think he has 6 HP on his wounded side, so he's halfway there, and it's down to what Gwen chooses to do to end the turn. So Gwen moved up long to get herself into the fight over here. Then she did a freestyle beatdown for 3 power, and thanks to the all webbed up bonus for her being a web warrior, etc., it became an 8 physical dice attack, and all said and done it did 4 down to 3 damage on Corvus, which is exactly enough to take him out. So Corvus is gone, and that does take us to the end of battle round 4, and Black Order's going to have to take a long look at whether this is possible. So at the end of battle round 4, nothing changes points wise. The Skrull agent is safely with Punisher and Spider-Man over on the right of your screen, and the Origin Bombs are still all Web Warrior affiliated, meaning that they gained 5 victory points to 0. Thanos is obviously flipping his card, so the Black Order's extra chance to score victory points is also gone. So that does mean that going into battle round 5, it would obviously be the Black Order going first, if you can still call them that because there's 2 of them left, at 10 playing 3. There's basically no chance for them to catch up. Thanos will probably take out Venom, and he could convert that Origin Bomb. Black Dwarf could convert that Origin Bomb, and then it would be down to whether or not Miles and Gwen could turn it back. So we're going to play at the start of battle round 5, but this is probably going to be a concede, just because there's no way to win after this. So we'll see what either Thanos or Black Dwarf decide to do, and then go from there. So Thanos activated and went full on in with a full power Cosmic Blast again, and obliterated Venom into a fine paste by doing 6 damage. He only needed to do 1. Then Venom is dazed. He then spent 1 and did convert that Origin Bomb, so there is something to play for here, I suppose. Black Dwarf still has to convert that and hold it. Otherwise there's basically no chance, because if it's another 5 points to the Web Warriors, they're 1 away from winning anyway. So Spider-Man, as in Peter Parker, activated as a filler turn just to be ultra trolly. He long moved twice here and then web pulled Black Dwarf small, and he can do that. He can't web pull anyone bigger than size 2. He can web pull anyone. So he pulled him small. He is still slowed, not that it matters because he's already slow movement. So it does mean he won't be able to attack on his turn. He can still double small move and try and convert that, and then there's 2 attempts to convert it back, and then that's game over. So that turn played out exactly how you would possibly think. He attempted to switch the Origin Bomb and failed, so it doesn't really matter. That means even if they don't take out Black Dwarf to get him to daze, it doesn't matter. They score 5 victory points at the end of the turn, which puts them 1 away from winning. Even if somehow the Black Order got majority Origin Bombs, they aren't going to catch Punisher. He could just run away from Black Dwarf. You can use Spec Up training to get triple small move. So with that, the Black Order are conceding. It is a Web Warriors victory. And what an embarrassing showing for both teams that was, taking 3.5 turns to find the Kree, not the Kree, too used to saying the Kree Power Core, the other thing, the Super Skrull. No, that's not it. This what is he called? the Skrull agent. That's the one. He's not super. He's just an agent. Although they should probably promote him because he blended in very, very well. It's a harsh mix-up of objectives as well with the Origin Bombs. It's guaranteed to be low scoring when it's the Origin Bombs because it's only majority that scores. The Black Order always suffers because of low numbers if they don't injure enough early on, and they certainly didn't. It's a shame we didn't get to see more of the Punisher. He has a fun objective card, or tactics card rather, where he has to spend 4 power in the power phase, so he never had enough thanks to having to constantly search things. But it, for a turn, gives his side the Thanos affiliation, basically. Dazing or KOing is 1 victory point, which actually, the dazing and KOing? Or is it just KOing? Where is it? Blood Red and Personal. Here it is. They have to be KO'd, so it's exactly the same as Thanos'. It's not dazing, only KOs, but it's a way to gain victory points. Which we might have seen, and it might have been... That would have been enough to end it on that turn if he'd got a bonus victory point for either Corvus or Proxima earlier. But as I say, so much power wasted on both sides having to search for the Kree agent, the Skrull, that's the one. He doesn't deserve a proper name. It's murder. You'd think it would be easy to roll a crit on 2 dice. I mean, it's a 1 in 8 chance on each. That took 2 attempts. Let's see how long it takes to get another one. Just for funsies. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. That was 2 out of 4 attempts were crits. Oh well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. There'll be more coming probably on this map. You also see this map used for some Batman Halloween themed stuff if you watch those battle reports as well. Thanks for watching this one though. See you next time. Ta-ta for now.